Hello, how are you today? Hope you're doing well. I was bending down, making sure my mic is on. So I hope you're doing well. I hope today finds you in perfect peace in every area of your life. And I welcome you back to the channel, or I welcome you to the channel for the very first time. I want to say, and I always say this at the top of the video, I want to say thank you so much for engaging with this channel. I appreciate you subscribing to the channel, so subscribe if you haven't. I appreciate you liking, commenting, watching the video in full, and even sharing the video. I pray that everything that I present on this channel is very helpful to you as we go on this beautiful road of learning and discovering all the beautiful things, and maybe some not so beautiful things about regarding uterine health. So I also like to say my disclaimer, my full disclaimer is in the description below, but I am not a medical doctor. I am a uterine health advocate. So uterine health, let's talk about it. So I want to put another disclaimer in here first, because what I'm going to talk about, I didn't take the time to properly see how you pronounce these names. And I apologize in advance. I'm going to do the best I can, but I will put everything in the description so you'll know what I'm talking about. So today I want to discuss a rare condition surrounding our uterine health called, it's hyphenated, but it's 4 words. It's called Mayer-Rokitansky-Küster-Hauser syndrome. And it's also known as MRKH syndrome. So this is a rare syndrome named for women that is born without a uterus. And being born without a uterus affects approximately 1 in every 1,400 female newborns. So this syndrome affects 1 in every 4,500 female newborns. In addition to when you have this syndrome and you don't have a uterus, you do also have the potential of not having an upper vagina, or a vagina that's not fully developed. And so researchers, aren't really sure, how this comes about, how this came to be, and don't even know the causes for this. They say that this is a rare congenital condition. And while it is extremely uncommon, it is also frequently under discussed. And I'm going to say, I'm not sure what led me to research this myself, just me asking myself questions, but we know this is something that is under discussed, because I'm sure, like yourself, many of us don't even know that our female sisters are being diagnosed with this syndrome, or was born with this syndrome. So, but that's the one good thing I do like about the whole purpose and the mission of this channel, is to bring awareness regarding various, uterine health conditions, symptoms, topics, cancers, and concerns, right? It's important, I feel it's important and vital for women to know what is and is not happening in our bodies as women, right? So we can speak about it and make other women aware, and men aware, of what is happening in our bodies, in our womb, in our uterine health. That is why this channel is called what it's called, Uterine Health. Let's talk about it. So let's talk about the good, let's talk about the not so good, and let's talk about everything so that we can be aware of the things that affect our uterine health. And I'm very sensitive to this subject, because I know this could be very hard for a lot of, women, the 1 in 4,500 that, that has been diagnosed with this syndrome. So just to give you some key facts about the syndrome, I'm going to call it the syndrome during this whole video, because, like I said, I should have really taken the time to write down how do you pronounce some of the names. That's the 4-part name of this syndrome. But, with this syndrome, if you are diagnosed with it, you'll have a normal puberty time, right? Your ovaries will usually develop normally, and you'll produce standard female hormones, and you will have normal breast growth, and body development will still occur. The primary sign in diagnosis of when this syndrome is discovered, is typically discovered during the teen years because a young woman does not start her menstrual period because this was essentially formed at birth. And, so although you're born with it, you don't really know that you don't have a uterus until, you don't have your cycle because, when a young girl, she's not going to the gynecologist and things of that nature and having ultrasounds. So that is when you're primarily discover that you've been diagnosed with this syndrome. So, like I said, researchers don't know what causes this syndrome. In most instances, it just completely happened by chance with no family history at all. But there are rare occurrences that it does run in families, and they show a potential genetic link when it does show up like that. So I know being diagnosed with something, this kind of a syndrome, could really have an impact mentally, right? But they say physically, depending on the type of this syndrome, women can go on and live a healthy and active life. When it comes to having children, pregnancy is not possible without a uterus. But with the advancement of modern medicine and other things, there are other options available for building and having your family if that's your desire. So there are two types of this type of syndrome, and so I wanted to share that with you now. I'm trying to be extremely sensitive right now because you don't know how, if someone comes across this and this is what the syndrome that they have, how they're feeling about that. It's, I know the emotions that I felt when I learned about it. So there are two types of this syndrome, the MRKH syndrome. The first one is called type 1, and you normally have functioning ovaries and fallopian tubes, but you're missing your uterus, a missing cervix, and there is a blockage or missing upper vagina. And no other of your organs are affected by that. So that's the type 1 of this particular syndrome. The type 2 of this syndrome, you could have a missing uterus, a missing cervix, blocked or missing upper vagina. You could also have issues with your ovaries, fallopian tube, spine, kidneys, and other organs. So there's two types of it, either type 1 or type 2 is what you'll be diagnosed with. If you have type 2 of this syndrome, you may have complications like missing one or both of your kidneys, issues with your spine like scoliosis or a missing vertebrae. I hope I said that correctly. My apologies. You can also have an increased risk for kidney stones, urinary tract infection, urethral obstructions. You can have hearing loss, and you can have heart problems. So there is management and treatment, and there's three kinds. Depending on what your goals are and your pain level, there are three types of treatment for this type of symptom. So you have your vaginal dilators, and this is a tube-like device that helps stretch your vagina. Dilators are made of plastic or silicone and they vary in length and width. And this helps to expand and stretch the inside of your vagina. So that's the first treatment. And again, this all depends on your goal that you have for yourself. The second one is called vaginoplasty. And this is a surgical procedure to create a vagina for you. There are several ways surgeons perform vaginoplasty, but most involve creating a hole and lining it with tissue from other parts of your body. The third type of treatment is called a uterus transplant. This is a major surgery, as you can imagine, most transplants are, that involves placing a donor uterus inside someone without a uterus. Uterine transplants give people with this type of syndrome an opportunity to carry and deliver a child. But the uterine transplants are very, very rare. So depending on what's going on with your body, your pain level. Your doctor may also recommend surgery, removal of all the other uterine remnants that you were born with, to have them removed if you're in some kind of severe pain or something like that. That is why I always recommend that you go to your doctor when you're in any kind of pain or discomfort or something isn't right. You know your body, and you know when something isn't right. And because this is discovered when you are a teen, that's why I think if possible, for us to start having these conversations with our daughters and nieces and nephews. So not nephews, sorry, to have these conversations so that your daughter can feel comfortable talking to you about things, and you can be a support for your daughter, knowing that she was born without a uterus and what her options are, as a young woman, as a young girl, basically. And so, because I'm sure just as equally as a child finding out she doesn't have a uterus, it probably doesn't have an impact on her till later, like mentally knowing what that means. But I'm sure the parents really, with anything, when a parent hears their child is suffering from something or diagnosed with something, the impact really hits the parents very hard too. So I'm sure that this is something that they both need to work through, an entire family as well. So, lastly, there are other names for this type of syndrome. So there is the congenital absence of the uterus and vagina, which is, CAUV. There is genital renal ear syndrome. There is Mullerian agenesis. There is Mullerian aplasia. There is Mullerian dysgenesis. There is Rokitansky Kuster Hauser syndrome. And then there's Rokitansky syndrome. And again, these last other names for this syndrome I will put in the description below. And as usual, I try to provide you with I try to provide you with references, but today I have two references. One is from the Cleveland Clinic, and that's from May 2026. And it goes into great detail. And the other one is from Medline Plus, which is from April 2025. So these are current articles. And it made me think about how at the top, I did say that this is something that's not discussed, but these two articles are very recent. And these are things that we should be prepared for, a parent should be prepared for as well, as their daughter comes into, puberty and comes into having their first menstrual cycle. And praying that, if your daughter is one of those 1 in 45 children born with this, that you get the best medical care for your daughter, and you decide with your doctor what's the best thing that you can do. This is why I'm going to repeat it so often, that I honestly say that we just need to have total grace for people all over the world. But as women, we really need to have grace for each other. When we see a woman's stomach and it's protruding, we don't need to say, oh, she needs to lose weight, because it may not even be that simple. We have to be very, sensitive when we maybe walk up to a woman and say, oh, why don't you have kids? Some women do have the option to choose not to have children, and that's their right and their choice. But some people are born with this type of a syndrome where they just can't have children, like a woman that was born with it could. So I think that we just have to learn to have grace around this topic, and around all topics regarding our uterine health, because as women, we really do go through a lot. And no matter your color, your race, your ethnicity, what your preferences are, maybe you play tennis, the other one plays pickleball, doesn't matter to me. We all have a uterus. Well, after learning this, I can't say we all have a uterus. I can say that we all have uterine health topics and concerns that we need to learn about. And we all need to be very sensitive and very kind to other women, because they may have been born with this type of syndrome and you just don't know until puberty. So I just want to say thanks again for engaging with the channel. I hope that this information today was informative to you. I hope that I showed my compassion in delivering this topic to you. I never want to seem like I'm not being full of empathy and sympathy. I don't want to say sympathy, but compassion, because I'm sure this is it's very hard. It was very eye opening for me. So I can only imagine what it's like when you are diagnosed with this particular symptom. So I hope that you learn something from this, and I hope that you take the moment to be kind and gracious to your fellow sister, because you just never know what she is dealing with when in regards to her uterine health. So until next time, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I will see you soon. Take care.